Hello, and welcome to another session of Your Opportunity Partner. Today, we're going to talk about holistic thinking and how that inhibits you or helps you if you do it in order to find opportunities. We basically said that we miss most of the opportunities that we have. This is true on a daily basis, it's true most of the time. And basically, why? Well, because we're not ready for them, because we don't think we need them, because we're afraid that change that they're going to bring is going to also be too much for us. And in the last session, we talked about it's important to develop a attitude of holistic thinking, which means to look at many, many aspects of your life, not just sort of at one thing. Okay, we tend to focus. We focus on what we're doing. We focus on what we're good at. We focus on what we're used to. We don't always look for new things, new people, new situations, and don't really look around a lot. There's a basically there's a story which we're going to tell you. The story involves a famous British detective named Sherlock Holmes. And in the story, Holmes and Watson, his partner, went camping. Now, camping is when you go out into the countryside and you have tents. It rains sometimes, there's mosquitoes sometimes, you don't sleep so good, but you sort of have fun. My daughters always wanted to go camping, and I always said, okay. So Holmes and Watson went camping. And as they lay down to sleep at night, Holmes said to Watson, Watson, look at the sky. Tell me what you see. And Watson said, well, I see hundreds of stars. And Holmes said, well, what does that tell you? And Watson said, well, if there are hundreds of stars, there must be thousands of planets. Maybe we're not alone in the universe. Holmes said, very good. What else does the sky tell you? And Watson said, well, it tells me that God is great. We are small, insignificant. Holmes said, really good. What else does the sky tell you? And Watson said, well, sky's clear. We'll probably have good weather tomorrow. At this point, Watson's fed up with Holmes and his questions, and he says to Holmes, okay, what does the sky tell you? And Holmes said, it tells me that somebody stole our tent. Because if you could see the sky when you lay down to sleep at night, there's no tent. And the little message of the story is the obscure we see eventually. What's right in front of us, what's right apparent, often takes longer. We get used to seeing things our way. We get used to seeing the same things. We get used to how things are supposed to be, and we go fast. We make assumptions, and we really don't see. Opportunity is about two things. Seeing the opportunity, that is the first. Most people don't see them. Second, going with the opportunity, grabbing it, leveraging it, going and embracing it. Often people do see an opportunity, but because they're not ready for it, or because it involves change, they don't do anything. And sometimes they even say or believe, well, the opportunity is not there. Because it's much easier to deny an opportunity that exists rather than to say, yes, I see it, but I don't want to take it. So sometimes we do this all the time. We deny what we really don't want to deal with, what we want to avoid. We do that all the time with problems. We know the problem is not really a problem. Why? Because we just don't want to face it. Well, we do the same thing with an opportunity. We deny it's even there. Why? Because we know we're not ready to capitalize on it or to do anything with it. So we just sort of deny that it is there. Now, there's another good question. It's one I ask my university classes sometimes when I teach creativity and innovation. And the question is, we never marry the person who's most attractive to us. Statement, it's quite true, but question is why? We never marry person who we find the most attractive in our life. Why? Well, when I asked this question to my classes in the university, MBA classes mostly, I teach mainly MBA, or even when I talk to my corporate clients, I ask, this is an exercise. Most of the people, they come up with complicated answers. Often one of the answers they give you immediately is, well, that person won't like me. I've even gotten complicated answers like, well, we don't really want to get involved with that person because if the marriage or the partnership doesn't work, I'll never get over it. I'll be devastated. So therefore, I usually marry someone who is not my ideal just to protect myself. That's a complicated answer. There's a very simple answer. Go back to the story of Holmes and Watson. Watson went for the complicated. Holmes went for the simple. Okay, we often miss simple answers. As adults, we are taught most of our solutions, most of our answers should be complicated. Children and creative people always say, well, don't forget the simple, because that may be an answer or a solution. So how about this question? We never marry the person we're most attracted to. Why? Answer, we never get a chance to meet them. That person probably lives on the other side of the planet. Depending on wherever you are, that person may live in a different country, hemisphere. You never get to meet them. And even if you did, where would you see them? You'd see them in an airport, and you'd be walking one way and they'd be walking the other way. And you just see them for seconds, a minute. Could you go up and talk to them? No. Well, you can. You can approach almost anyone you see anywhere and talk to them. But we don't. Why? We're afraid. We have no reason to. So what happens is we see people all the time. You say, I like that person, maybe, find that person attractive. But you really can't talk to them unless something happens. There's a fire, there's a power outage, or you happen to be in the same class. You happen to work together. You happen to be sitting next to them on an airplane or a train. Happen. What's this mean? We meet people by accident. So who do we end up really marrying or choosing? Someone who we like who likes us, who is available at a certain place and moment in time. It's a very small selection. We choose the most important people in our lives from a very small group of people. Opportunity. Well, most people wait for an opportunity to fall into their laps. It's like something extraordinary, bang. But that's only a fraction of the opportunities maybe that come our way. How often do you get a telephone call out of the blue? Somebody says, hey, it happened to me once. I had a good colleague and friend in Hong Kong, and I was trying to work out a position in industry in the US at the time in New York. And the position was with a startup company, looked great, and sometimes, as what happens with a startup, it didn't work out. And so I was at the point where I was saying, oh, I have to find something else to do because my job, which was on paper really great, with this startup now doesn't exist. So sometimes this happens. And at that moment, a few days later, I got a call unexpectedly from my friend in Hong Kong. He said, we need somebody to help us set up an online MBA program. This was back before a lot of the programs were online. It was in the 1990s. And he said, we need you to help us with it. Can you come to Hong Kong and work on the program? That was perfect. Why? I needed a job, needed a new place to teach and to be, and one was being offered to me. Now, most of the time, and I've taught in 24 different countries, I've taught in 50 different institutions. Most of the time, I look for a place to teach. They don't often just say, Art, we have something, can you come? So you don't get an invitation. You have to basically ask, can I do that? So this one just fell into my lap. But that happened once. All the rest of the time, I had to ask, I had to network, I had to set up, I had to be available. What's this mean? You need to look for your opportunities. Most people don't look. They just wait. Opportunity is supposed to come to you. Some do. Not many. Most of the opportunities you have to make for yourself. We don't think holistically. We don't think outside of what we're doing. 196 countries in the world. You can work in another country. Most people don't. You can work in another city within your country. Last episode, I talked about the entrepreneur that I met in India. Asked him if he would move to a different city in India to help his business. He said no. So people don't want to move even within their own country, which is language, culture, everything. When you ask them to move internationally, ooh, that's a big, big, big change. But it's a change. A lot of times, I've changed profession. So how many times have you changed countries? How many times have you changed cities? How many times have you changed what you're doing? Remember, in the second episode of this channel, I talked about structural change. And I basically said structural change involves location, people, what you're doing, job maybe, or attitude. Those four things. Now, it involves often a couple of those four things, or sometimes one. So, in essence, what you are doing is thinking bigger, thinking differently. I always give an analogy sometimes to my classes, which is you're standing outside a house. Okay, what do you see? You see the house, you see the trees, you see the yard, you see the cars, you see a little bit of the neighborhood. You see a lot. You go in the house. What do you see? You see the inside of the house. You don't see their street anymore. You don't see the cars. You don't see the trees. Most people, when they have a problem or in their lives, the adults, they go in the house. When you do, it's like with problem solving. People have a problem. Problem solving theory is you put a frame around it. All your solutions will only come from within the frame. Expert puts a small frame around it. An amateur or a novice puts a larger frame. So they always say put a larger frame around everything before you make it smaller and smaller and smaller. Adults have been taught to focus, make it complicated, keep it small. They're upset, they're destabilized by too many variables, too much going on, too many options. I know a lot of people that say options are bad. No, they're not bad. Options are the best thing you can have. You have no options, you have no choice. You have no choice, then you just have to do what's required. Options are wonderful. Opportunities are options. That is exactly what we're talking about. Now, in the next video, we'll talk more about holistic thinking and about options, and we'll also expand more so you can see why you're not really taking advantage of the opportunities that you do have. If you like this video and if you find it useful, please do subscribe to the channel. It's a new channel. And we hope that you do like and tell your friends about it. We're going to really try to help you to expand what you've been used to, what you've been doing, so that you can take advantage of the options that you have. Now, option means you can do it or not. But before you can decide whether to do it or not, you have to get to the point where, yes, this is a possibility. Thank you very much, and see you next time.